All right, let's jump right in. We usually think of physics as all about equations, labs, experiments, that kind of thing. But what if, and this is a big what if hidden inside its most basic laws, there's a philosophical puzzle, a cosmic code just waiting for us to crack it? Well, today we're going to explore a really fascinating idea that claims to connect one single number to, well, the entire fabric of reality.
And this is it. 142857. I know, at first glance, it just looks like a string of digits, right? Nothing special. But the philosophical source we're digging into today says, no, no, no. This isn't just a number. It's presented as a potential key, a kind of thread that it claims weaves together some of the biggest, most fundamental concepts in the entire universe. So yeah, that's the big question for us today, isn't it? How on earth could these 6 little digits possibly unlock the secrets to, well, everything? To even begin to answer that, we've got to take a trip into one of the weirdest, most mind-bending fields in all of science.
So, where do we even begin looking for an answer? Well, the source material points us in one very specific direction, down into the world of the super small. We're talking about the realm of quantum physics. The place where all the normal rules of reality just kind of fall apart. And it's right there, in all that weirdness, that we might just find our first clues to this hidden structure.
And this quote right here, it really gets to the core of this whole idea. The point isn't just that quantum physics is complicated. We all know that. It's the suggestion that it might be an expression of something much, much deeper. Think of it like this. What we call the laws of physics are just what we see on the screen. But underneath it all, there's an underlying program running the show, a set of hidden codes.
Okay, so let's make sure we're on the same page with this hidden codes thing. The analogy is pretty simple, actually. Imagine the entire universe is like a computer program. What we see and experience, all of physics, from a thrown ball to a supernova, that's just the game playing out on the screen. But the hidden code is the source code itself, the programming language that sets every single rule for how that game can be played. And if you follow that logic, it leads to a pretty wild conclusion. If reality is literally a code, then things we think of as absolute barriers, like the edge of the known universe or the very beginning of time, well, maybe they aren't physical walls. Maybe they're just the limits of the program, the point where the code just stops.
Okay, so if we're hunting for a code, where's the first place we should look? The source gives us a huge first clue. It points to one of the most famous, most fundamental constants in all of nature, the speed of light.
Now, in this way of thinking, the speed of light is way more than just a cosmic speed limit. It's treated as the absolute bedrock of everything. I mean, think about it, right? Nothing with mass can ever reach it, and it basically sets the rules for cause and effect across the entire universe. It's the ultimate starting line, the point from which every single interaction ripples out.
And here's where we take a little turn, moving from pure physics into a bit of symbolism. See, this whole framework gives that foundational role a number, and that number is 1. So why 1? Well, the logic is all about what the number represents. 1 is the beginning, right? It's unity, the origin, the very first step. So, in this view, since the speed of light is the origin point for all physical interaction, it's essentially the universe's number 1. It's the starting block for reality itself.
All right, so if the speed of light is the king of the big stuff, of space-time and the universe at large, what's its counterpart on the other end of the scale? Well, our second big clue governs the super tiny world of the atom, and that is Planck's constant.
To put it simply, Planck's constant basically defines the smallest possible packet of energy. A great way to think about it is like a single pixel on a TV screen. You can't have a half a pixel, right? It's the absolute minimum. And that makes Planck's constant the fundamental rule setter for the quantum world, deciding the size and shape of atoms themselves. The building blocks of literally everything.
And you guessed it, following that same symbolic logic, Planck's constant gets its own special number in this system. And that number is 6.
So why 6? Of all the numbers, why that one? Well, the source material points to the idea of numerology, where the number 7 often stands for absolute, total perfection, completion. So 6, being just one short of that, is seen as the number of almost perfect. It represents harmony, order, and physical structure, but an imperfect structure. It's the number for our intricate, beautiful, but ultimately flawed physical world.
Okay, let's take a step back. We've got our 2 main pillars.
On one hand, we have the speed of light, the absolute beginning, our number 1, and on the other, we have Planck's constant, the nearly perfect structure, our number 6. So the big question is obvious. How do these two totally fundamental ideas actually connect?
Let's just lay this out nice and clear. So you have the speed of light, which is symbolically our number 1, the origin point. And then you have Planck's constant, our symbolic number 6, the foundation of all physical stuff, the absolute beginning, and the almost perfect structure. And the source material has this fantastic analogy for it. They're two sides of the same coin. They're not two separate things operating in their own little worlds. No, they are fundamentally inseparably linked. I mean, it makes sense, right? You can't have a universe full of structure if you don't have a starting point. And what's the use of a starting point if it doesn't lead to any structure? And this is where our mystery number 142857 finally comes back into the picture. The claim is that this number is the operational code, the thing that connects the beginning, the 1, with the structure, the 6. The source points to its really unique mathematical properties, like how if you divide 1 by 7, you get this exact, endlessly repeating sequence. It's seen as a symbol of a process, a cycle. Basically, this number is presented as the bridge, the repeating pattern that lets the simple 1 become the complex structure of 6. Okay, so we've connected all the dots, the constants, their symbolic numbers, and our big mystery code. But so what? What does it all actually mean? Let's zoom out now and look at the big picture philosophical ideas we can take away from this whole thing.
So, what's the ultimate wisdom we're supposed to get from this? It really boils down to 3 main points. First, the idea that everything we see and touch is just an expression of some deeper, hidden information. Second, that the constant dance between the 1 and the 6 means our universe can never ever be static. Movement and change are literally built into the system. And finally, and this is a big one, because our physical world is based on the number 6, that near perfection number, it means that true, absolute 7 out of 7 perfection is just impossible to achieve in our reality. And all of this leaves us with one last, really mind-bending thought. If we start to see the universe not just as a bunch of matter and energy, but as a living information system, as a code, it totally changes how you look at everything. And it leaves us with this one giant question. If everything we've talked about today is just the first few lines of the code that we've managed to figure out, what else is written in that cosmic program that we haven't even learned how to read yet?